Hi, my name is Isabel. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be sewing this hat.
For this project, you're going to need some woven, non-stretchy fabric. So you really have a lot of choice. I took several fabrics. I could have taken just one for all parts. I took some very light denim, some light cotton, and this light shimmery synthetic fabric, which name I don't know. But you could take nylon, polyester, canvas. Just keep in mind that you might want to take some lighter fabric for the lining of the head, and you will also need a bit of webbing tape or ribbon or bias. When you print the pattern, print the first page of the pattern only, the one bearing the checkbox. If the measurements are correct, then print all the remaining pages. This is just an advice to avoid wasting paper in case there is a problem with the scale, for instance. On all pages appear a letter and a number. The letters indicate the order for the lines, so the first line is all A's, the second all B's, there could have been C's and D's, and so on. And the columns are all numbers, so the first column is all ones, then we have twos, then threes, and all my patterns follow this logic. So I'm gonna cut off some margins, then I'll stick the pages in order, and finally I'll cut out the pattern pieces. The pattern includes seam allowances of 1 centimeter. Here are the pieces of the pattern. The brim cut twice. This is the interfacing that I'll stick to the brim. The robe of the hat in the shell and lining. These two parts are the head of the hat, shell and lining, and some tape here, ribbon bias as you prefer. Just showing you my brim parts after I've stuck interfacing on both pieces here. Here are the head parts. This is the lining and here the shell. I'm going to be connecting the pieces together here, here, and here, and the same. And I do sew right sides together. So I pin my parts. This is what I get when I have pinned my lining. I used quite a few pins, as you can see, and I sew with a straight stitch respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance. And here's the result. Now I'm going to sew my robes and brims together. I lay them right sides together and I sew. I take the parts I just made and I sew them right sides together. I'll now cut notches all around the hat in the seam allowance. I turn inside out. I've pinned to maintain the layers together, and I'm going to sew the two layers together all around, respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance. I'm also going to sew the layers together on this seam here. And I'll cover the brim with top stitchings 1 centimeter apart from one another. I'll take my head parts and I'll insert the lining in the shell, and I'll sew the two layers together in the seam allowance. I'll take my brim parts and I'll do the same so the layers won't separate. Now I take the tape, I sew the ends respecting 1 centimeter of seam allowance, and I press the seam allowances open. I'll mark the middle of the tape by folding it several times. I'll do the same on the brim part, on which the middle front and back are already marked. I'll fold the hat so these notches are on top of one another, and it's off frame, but I get the middle of the sides that way. Now I pin my tape to the lining of the brim, right sides together, matching the notches. I sew. And this is what I get. I pin my head to the brim, again respecting the notches. And I sew all layers, respecting this time my seam allowance of 1 centimeter. I now flatten the tape towards the lining and the pin. You might want to cut notches in the seam allowance. I didn't do it because when trying the hat on, I liked the way it tightened around my head. And also I think I took too narrow a tape. I took this into account with my fabric recommendations. And once it's pinned, you have two options. Either you sew the tape or bias to the hat all around like this, or you can sew it by hand like I did here. It's another hat, but same idea with the tape inside, and so I made invisible stitches. Ta-da! This is the final result. I think this seam is discreet enough in my case because of the patterned fabric, but I would have done it by hand otherwise. Let me show you some close-ups of the project. And that's it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to be in the know of what I do, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and I'll see you soon for another video. Take care. Kiss.